So you know the song I'm
There was a time was on the earth, and joy and happiness did reign, and each man knew his word. In my heart, how I yearn for that spirit's return, and I cry as time flies. There is a place where love will always shine, and rainbow are the shadows of love that's so divine. And the glow of that love will light the sky. Oh, can't you see? Come with me. Has a man.
So you got my phone?
Peace and love, family. Welcome to the NEPPC podcast. I'm Brother Frank, and I'm with former political prisoner
Abdul Hawkins Love.
Yes, today is the beginning of April. It's the beginning of Jazz Appreciation Month. And today's episode, we focus on Pharaoh Sanders and his contribution to the Black liberation struggle. Pharaoh Sanders put out his first album called Karma in 1969. At this time, the Black Panther Party was around for about 3 years. So the point is that, and with those two things existing, one inspired the other, right? I know that the Black Panther Party and seeing his people organizing and struggle and fighting inspired him to make that song. And in return, he gave us something. He gave us a song that inspired us. You know, of course, when I say us, I'm just talking about, you know, Black people who took a position of accountability regarding how they would deal with their oppression and their exploitation. And so his music allowed us to be in a position to continue to fight. It was a morale booster, right? Because in any national liberation struggle, you have poets, you have musicians, you have dancers, you have people of various talents that use their talents to enlighten people, to let people know that, you know, you have to keep going, you have to keep pushing, regardless of what's going on, because at the end of this, the reward is worth it, and that reward is liberation. So Pharaoh Sanders did his job, and we're truly appreciative of what he gave us, because when we reflect on his body of work, we look at everything that keeps us going, that allows us to think about what's going on, allows us to calm down for a moment and gather our thoughts, because just picture a Black Panther Party member selling a newspaper, talking to people, organizing protests, organizing marches, organizing demonstrations, putting together the Panther newspaper, doing this because it had to be done, because it's a part of the process to make real change, to make revolution. And Pharaoh Sanders spent a number of time putting work together that was going to aid the soldier, the comrade, into taking on those tasks on a daily basis. I know from a personal experience, Coltrane Shimarenga, one of the founders of the December 12th movement, had told me himself that the creator was a master. The creator has a master plan. Was a revolutionary anthem. So he's older than me, and he's telling me that. So I'm putting myself in his position, or the position of somebody who was conscious enough to take up a position against what was going on at that time. And you know, that meant a lot to me, because I was able to think back about how that must have felt, and what inspiration that gave somebody to keep fighting. Because it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to just give up, right? But, you know, when you have something that keeps you going, it's a song, it's a person, it's an experience, whatever it is that keeps you going, you use that to continue to fight, to defy all odds, to commit yourself to this work long term, because that's what it takes. It takes long-term commitment. Some of us have to begin with short-term intentions, but as our consciousness rises and we start understanding the value of the work, the importance of the work, then, you know, we endure, and we let others know this is what we're about, this is what we're doing. Abdul Hakislam, I know you're a little under the weather. You got any ideas, any thoughts regarding Pharaoh Sanders?
Yeah, I got kind of a cold. I'm gonna try not to sound like a chipmunk, but let's let it roll. Pharaoh Sanders' song, the Creator Has a Master Plan, performed by Leon Thomas, was an opening act of Sister's Place, the Black House, the House of Revolution in Bed-Stuy, September 23rd, 1995. That was our opening show. Leon Thomas. And like Brother Frank said, the song is a very uplifting song. You know, it gives us a feeling that we're going to be successful, that we're going to win, that God is on our side. And, you know, this is a song that's very dear to the December 12th movement, you know, very dear to Sister's Place. And when y'all in Brooklyn, come on through Sister's Place, you know, and enjoy the atmosphere, to enjoy the crowd. And I want to say about the message in the song, that Creator has a master plan. You know, a whole lot of people like to claim that God is on their side. You know, for example, Israel, in spite of its horrible, subhuman Acts very, very recently claims that they chosen by God. I don't know what idea of God they got, but they like to make that claim, and the bombing by Israel and the U.S., in Palestine must give the message to the Muslims, you understand, that we must fight back, and that a very powerful weapon that we have to fight back with is comparative religion, which we call Dawah. They like to say that the book came from Moses, but the scholars say that from Moses to Ezra, there was a long line of writers, and many of them were unknown. So if you go online and type in who wrote the Torah, they'll tell you that we don't know who wrote the Torah, and we got to use this. See, they use the term Islamophobia, and so Islamophobia means they're scared of Islam. So we're saying that we need to scare the hell out of them with Islamophobia, through comparative religion. For example, the fact that the Trinity is polytheism. The Trinity ain't got nothing to do with monotheism. Three separate gods, each one is God in itself, has different attributes, communicates with itself and the other ones in three different ways. In fact, a very, very necessary divine attribute being self-existing, able to exist by itself. In the Trinity, that very, very necessary attribute does not exist. They say a God needing another God for its existence.
And I hear what you're saying, brother, and that's a very important fact, because it's a struggle for truth, right? And truth is a decision that you're going to have to live on once you acquire that truth. And that brings us to the point of Pharaoh Sanders. His truth was his music, and his music was a contribution to our national liberation struggle. And the Black Panther Party decided that, they're going to be inspired by this music, and other revolutionaries are going to be inspired by his music, and they're going to understand that, regardless of what happens, we're going to keep going, and out of their struggle, out of their fight comes the political prisoner. The political prisoner is inspired by musicians, poets, dancers. So now we look at Pharaoh Sanders and his body of work, and look at how that inspired a political prisoner, somebody who's been given a whole bunch of time, somebody who feel like they might have been forgotten and neglected, and the gratitude is not being shown. So we have to really look at the contributions of Pharaoh Sanders as it relates to a political prisoner struggling to be free, struggling to keep on fighting, right? We have Joy Powell, we have Mumia Abu Jamal, Imam Jamil Al-Amin, and so many more. And we have to let them know that, that's why we have this platform. This platform is about raising recognition about who they are, and gaining support for bringing them home, making sure that people spend time to talk about political prisoners, make time to write to a political prisoner, which reminds me, I have to write to a political prisoner. I already visited. I have now do the next step, and I write. I've written before in the past, but I have to write another letter because I want to ask Joy Powell some questions. I want her to be more engaged with the work to free U.S. held political prisoners. So, when you make statements about what's actual facts and what's wrong, and what's false and what's truthful, then, we take that and we use that, and we directly approach that to a national liberation struggle. I know that, I spoke to a number of political prisoners, and, or former political prisoners rather, and they said that Islam was very important. It played a very important role in their endurance through these through those times that they were incarcerated. And so Pharaoh Sanders, his music, it plays a very important part in the endurance that a political prisoner has, right? Imagine a judge telling you you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison, or you got 25 to life to prison, and you barely started doing that first bid, or that first year bid. So we have to get into the mind of a person who's receiving this music and what it's doing for them, how it's inspired them, how it's firing up to keep going. Because, you know, with organizing people and attending programs, attending demonstrations, attending marches, even personal time to study political science and use that in your reality as you struggle to produce the reality you know that's beneficial to your people. You know, that's time from your family, and your family doesn't always understand that. So, but people like Pharaoh Sanders understand what you're going through, and that's why his work, his body of work, needs to be appreciated. You know, the origins of jazz, so-called jazz. You know, I know Randy Weston calls it Af- Africa rhythms, right? It started in Louisiana. I know it started in a place called Congo Square. Later on, they called it, I think, Dizzy Gillespie Square, if I'm not mistaken, or Duke Ellington Square. Somebody feel free to correct me on that. But when we look at the origins of this work and look at what people were going through and to inspire them to create music, that music continues to carry them throughout the roughest of times. And a number of people take it up, because think about how much time a saxophonist or pianist or whatever instrument a musician chooses to take up, the amount of time that they have to spend to master their craft. I know Nina Simone, I looked at his documentary. He said that she used to spend 4 hours a day on the piano. So they gave their best, right? Because it takes time. You know, you fight how you train, right? So they're training, they're practicing, and they're presenting that to us, and we appreciate that. So we have to really put all of that thought into the final product, and that final product given to us, and it's making us feel a certain way, and we have to let others understand and be just as appreciative, and we all in this together, right? Because the African proverb says it best. It says, I am we. So that means that your problems are my problems, or rather your problem are our problems, and we have to solve them together. So Pharaoh Sanders, his way of solving our problem of oppression was being a musician, being the best musician he could be. I know that I looked at an interview with Miles Davis. It was on the Arsenio Hall show, and Arsenio Hall had asked him a question about jazz music. He said, why do we make jazz, or why does jazz music have no words? He said, because we want you or the person who's listening to create their own words, right? So when you listen to the creator has the master plan, that's almost like a personal letter to you from a higher power, and letting you know that the plan is in making, and at the end of all of what you're going through, that's going to be the final result of the plan, you know. And so now us as revolutionaries, us as professional revolutionaries, see that plan, the manifestation of that plan being our national liberation struggle. So when you get that deep into a musician's role in our national liberation struggle, then you understand and you're more appreciative of their role, and you know that without them, the work would be just that much harder. When you first heard Pharaoh Sanders, how did that? What did the song do to you, brother?
Yeah, like you say, it was uplifting, brother. You know, the music. You know, Pharaoh has that. He got that. And the way you do that trumpet, man, and that blaring sound. You know, that's strength. You did, and you know, knowing that Allah is on our side. You know, gives us confidence that we're gonna win. You know, so yeah, revolutionaries love that song. You know, and just to contextualize what I said earlier in politics, you know, when people have bombed and murdered 33,000 people, and 70% of them are children, you know, that ain't no accident, you know. So those people need to have a weapon that they know that they can fight and knock sparks out of that enemy. You understand? So that's why I politicized comparative religion, because comparative religion does that. You know, it gives our people a weapon, you understand, to really cause the enemy some losses. You know, it's a historical fact. You can look it up. The age of reason, dealt death blows to the Trinity. You know, the age of reason. You know, and right now, they're still in decline. You know, the fastest losses, you understand, in the world right now is people leaving that Trinity stuff. You know, so this gives people understanding the feeling that through their weapons that they choose to fight with, that they're being having an impact. They just not out in the street hooting, hollering, and screaming, you know, some nonsense. But they're really gaining power, you know, through a very, very powerful means, you know, and indeed, you know, it's a historical fact that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world today, you know. So the enemy knows that, and they're scared of it. So, like I say, they got Islamophobia, which means scared of Islam, scared the hell out of it. You know, keep on fighting, paralyze them with fear, you know, so that they can't even think straight, you know, and then we can figure out strategy and tactics with clarity of mind, with sureness in our heart, you know, and we know that we're going to win. Again, back to the music, you know, Sister's Place, be rocking with jazz, you know, it'd be off the hook, you know, I mean, people be getting up and dancing and carrying on, and performances coming up, Jimmy Owens and Vanessa Rubin, two high-ranking artists in the jazz field, you know. So, like I said before, Sister's Place is also the house of revolution. You know, we got music up in there. There's revolution in the music, in the lyrics in the music, and the crowd is revolutionary. You know, so y'all need to, if you're not hip to Sister's Place, get hip to it and come on through. You know, and share some Black power with the people. Yeah, well, Frank is just.
Yes, indeed. You know, come join us. Let's experience jazz live. You know, that's every Saturday. You know, and start off from John Coltrane's birthday. And I think that that's a very important spot to be, because culture is a weapon, right? We have a very important jazz session with very important discussions about what's going on and what needs to be done, because it always must be a response to what's happening. You either co-sign it or you are against it. If you co-sign it, that means you're inactive. And if you are against it, that means you're participating in action that is combating that, which is letting those who are in power know that there are a group of people that won't stand the mistreatment of themselves and their loved ones. So I think that, you know, that needs to be discussed, right? Serious discussions, serious actions, because our lives are serious. At least we should take our lives serious, because we only have one life, and the lives of our loved ones should be taken serious because they only have one life. And I think that that's very important, because you said something earlier too while you were discussing. You said it's something about clarity, right? And I think that that's exactly what Pharaoh Sanders' music brings. It brings the opportunity to clear your idea, clear your mind, right? Because we live in a world of distractions. You go
and confusion,
distractions, confusions. As soon as you pick up that cell phone, right? You put one like on something, and it attracts you to a whole bunch of things that are similar to that. And before you know it, you had intended on watching something and researching something else, and now you're stuck on something longer than you should have been. And time is very precious because you can never get it back once it's gone. So I think that that's the power of Pharaoh Sanders' music. His music allowed you to clear your mind, to focus, and now with these distractions coming, you have a way to defend yourself, right? You're armed with his music, and now you focus on what's going on. And when you hear about people organizing our people and standing up and fighting back, now you're able to respond a whole lot clearer because of the distractions. They're lessened, right? If not eliminated completely. So that's one of the powers that this particular brother has, his ability to clear your mind and get you in tune with what you need to be doing. And brother, what you was about to say, you was about to say something? Oh, I had a sense that you was going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say about a couple of other incidents that recently happened. Israel has made a law. This just happened. Israel made a law that Al Jazeera cannot report from Palestine anymore. You know, and if these folks were so uprighteous and so dedicated to principles, what would they have to hide? You know, don't want you reporting what's happening over there. You know, this is something that just went down. You know, also the last 2 days in the news, the account of Israel murdering some people who have delivered relief aid. You know, tons and tons of relief aid, and Israel killed them. You know, even though their car clearly stated who they were. You know, they want to claim it was an accident. You know, so you know we got to. This is an evil enemy. You know, how can they, claim that the Creator got a master plan for them? You know, when they getting down with genocide. You know, and baby killing. You know, so we got to realize, and like I said, the fact that they murdered 33,000 people, 7% of them are children. You know, in response to that, I gave the people a weapon. You know, I know the people fired up because of that. A weapon that they can use in a fired up, agitated way. You understand? With much militancy and knowing, you understand, that it's going to put death blows on the enemy. You know, so this is, we're in a war. When you talk about people being murdered and blown up and bombs dropping on, and America gave the folks them bombs. You know, so in response to that, I gave the people a strategy to hit America and Israel. You know, America's Trinity, and the unknown author of the Trinity, of the Torah. You know, look up who wrote the Torah.
Right.
They said they admit they don't even know who wrote the Torah.
So when you say when we letting people know that you got to strike back, right? You got to hit them. You got to organize. You got to boycott. You got to withdraw your money from funding any corporations that's contributing to the genocide. You got to be very clear and focus very seriously on that, because we don't want that to be on our watch. We don't want to be guilty of just being on the sideline, allowing that to happen, and just having intense conversations amongst one another. Because one of the things that I noticed is that people would tend to avoid taking a definitive position, because that means that they have to take some type of action. So when you can point a finger at somebody and blame somebody for something, and you're not doing anything about it, then that's you saying that that's okay for that to happen. and then we have to make sure that we're part of that resistance, that fighting back. Because if this happened to them today, it will be you tomorrow. And so we have to be clear on that. Which brings us back to the body of work of Pharaoh Sanders and his ability to produce music that allows us to be clear-headed. And when we do that, then we can know more so about who's with us and who's against us, because there's a lot of misleading information in the world that we live in. There are a lot of opportunists in the world that we living in, and we have to be able to detect that easily. And from that, we have to be able to respond, because if we don't detect that easily and we allow it to take up more time than we have, then the time that we spent being misled and misguided took away from the time that we could have been involved in an action or the construction of an action that is beneficial to a people who's exploited and oppressed. Our episode is coming near to an end. So, we would like for you to share this with as many people as possible. If I understand people are busy, but if you could just share this with at least 10 people, that's greatly appreciated, because we all have to think, what would we feel or what would we think if we were a political prisoner? If we spent time organizing people and got captured, right? We were a captured freedom fighter, and we were forgotten, because our political prison can die two ways. They can die physically, the absence of life as we know it, or they could die socially, right? Being forgotten about and not being mentioned at all in any shape, way, or form or fashion. And I think that, that is very disheartening, and in fact is discouraging for others who choosing to fight. They say, if they're doing that to them, what will happen to me if I become a captured freedom fighter, aka a political prisoner? So we have to keep that in mind as we continue to strive for a better world, and continue to let our children know that they have a responsibility to stand up and fight. So this is Jazz Appreciation Month. So spend some time, listen to some jazz, go to a jazz show, and learn more about jazz, and learn how it's directly connected to our struggle as a people for national liberation. And out of that, learn how it's directly connected to our political prisoners, being captured, right? And being, as they're captured, because they are freedom fighters, that they should never give up, that there is a force that's out here struggling to fight to bring them home. So that being said, don't let political prisoners die. You got any last words, my brother, before we close?
Yeah, I would like to say, for you folks, come on out here and stomp your feet and dance, you understand, with the hip crowd at Sister's Place, where the music is revolutionary, where we understand the culture is a weapon. And like I said before, our first show was Leon Thomas sing "The Creator Has a Master Plan." All right? So come on to Sister's Place, 1266 Nostrand Avenue, Brooklyn, New York.
456 Nostrand Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. And the phone number is 718-398-1766. Again, that's 718-398-456.
That's right.
Peace and love, family.